Every country has its own set of beauty standards, whether they're right and attainable or not. Just Google search your country and you'll find a description of who the most beautiful people are thought to be. But it's amazing how much those beauty standards differ from country to country. Africa's beauty standards will shock you. From neck rings worn as a seal of faithfulness to force-feeding girls, here are 20 mind-blowing beauty standards across Africa. Number 20. Scarification. Scarification is the process of scratching, cutting, etching, and burning pictures, designs, and words into skin. It's a type of body art or modification that can take up to a year to heal. The scars are typically permanent. While you wouldn't see scarification in most people, it's less common to see people without it in many African cultures. Scarification marks here are typically the best way to learn about a person's family, clan, tribe, and social rank. Often, scarification is also used to symbolize beauty and strength. In many West African tribes, scarification takes place to mark milestones in people's lives, such as puberty and marriage. You are often excluded from group activities if you didn't want to participate in scarification. The types of scarification and the reasons for doing so can actually differ from one African tribe to the next. As a general rule, it's practiced across the African continent because scars are easier to see on dark skin than tattoos. It's also common to have specific markings to determine which tribe or ethnic group you belong to. Some people in places like northern Ghana believe distinct scarification markings treat illnesses and diseases like measles and stomach pain. It's becoming less common in some areas, but as a general rule, it was seen as a desirable quality in a future wife and as a sign of strength and bravery in men. Number 19. Lip plate. Lip plates are definitely not something you see in most parts of the world. Also known as mouth plates and lip plugs, they are large wood or clay circular discs that fit into a pierced hole in the upper or lower lip. It's a common practice in Africa and has even been seen in South America. How the plate is worn can depend on where you live. Contemporary culture is also changing to give girls the choice of whether or not they want to wear them. In some African countries, people will extract their 2 lower front teeth, and sometimes all 4, to fit a lower lip plate in place. In Lobi and Sara groups in Chad, it's not uncommon to have both an upper and lower lip plate. In Ethiopia, particularly along the lower Omo River Valley, a young woman will have her lip pierced up to 1 year before marriage. Typically, they are 15 to 18 years old. Her mother or a kinswoman will make the incision around the lower lip before inserting a wooden peg in place. When the wound is healed, the peg is replaced with a larger one until she eventually works up to ornamental discs of her own making that measure between 3 to 7 inches. The practice is becoming less popular because of the risk of infection and how lip plates can impact mouth functions and lead to dental and gum issues. In fact, the Ethiopian government has apparently wanted to ban them. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen. After all, they are often seen as a symbol of pride and beauty. The bigger the lip plate, the more men must pay the father of the girl he intends to marry. Have you liked this video and subscribed to our channel? Well, do it now, or you might wake up with a lip plate that you can't remove. Number 18. Msai beadwork. No matter where you go in Africa, you'll likely see beadwork being offered for sale in markets. It's also commonly worn by many women. Known as Msai beadwork, it consists of beautifully patterned beads that form the foundation of necklaces, bracelets, anklets, belts, home decor, and more. While they make beautiful gifts for people, they also have several meanings in African culture. The beadwork is only done by women, and it is their duty to learn the craft. However, both men and women can wear the beads. They also feature at community events, rituals, and weddings. Msai beadwork has been around for hundreds of years, but they weren't always the colorful beads you see today. Traditional ornaments used to be made from shells, dried grass, seeds, clay, and sticks. Eventually, glass and plastic beads were used after trading with other communities. How you wear the beads and what you wear can depend on the person. If you're an unmarried female, you'd wear flat beaded discs around your neck to show flexibility and grace. You'd then wear a heavily beaded necklace on your wedding day and a long necklace with blue beads once you were married. The more colorful the beads you wear, the higher your status tends to be. Number 17. Red ochre. Red ochre is a natural clay earth pigment that various groups of people have used for thousands of years. It was once used in bark and cave paintings and was seen as a symbol of life and victory in ancient Egypt. However, in more recent times, we've come to associate red ochre with the ancient semi-nomadic herder tribe known as the Himba. This tribe lives in the barren northwest part of Namibia in the Kunene region and can be seen covered head to toe in the red substance. Well, correction. The women can be seen covered head to toe in red ochre. They use something called ochre, which is a mixture of red ochre, fat, and butter. Sometimes they add an aromatic resin to make it smell nice. They'll apply this paste to their skin and hair every morning to make them entirely red. Many experts have speculated about why they do it. Some say it was to protect their skin from the sun while tending to their livestock. Others believe the paste protects them from insects. However, the Himba people say it's simply for aesthetics and that it's like applying makeup every morning. They create the paste by pounding the ochre stone known as hematite into tiny pieces. It's then mixed with butter and heated before being applied to the skin. Typically, girls will start wearing red ochre when they're old enough to look after their own hygiene needs. Number 16. Neck rings. Neck rings have been widely accepted for hundreds of years throughout Africa and Asia. It's thought that the practice might even date back to the 11th century and was more commonly practiced in Asia, Africa, and India. The origins of neck rings are not 100% known, but a few theories have been bandied about. They were possibly worn in Southeast Asia to protect people from tiger attacks. There are also rumors that they were put on women to make them appear less beautiful and, therefore, less likely to be kidnapped by men. In modern culture, neck rings are seen as more of a beauty thing and a status symbol. In South Africa, Ndebele people wear neck rings to elongate their necks and make them appear beautiful. They were also considered a symbol of faithfulness. While we wear rings on our fingers, some Ndebele people wear them around their necks. They're not supposed to remove them until their husbands. Number 15. The Gel. Nigeria has many beautiful traditions, but perhaps one of the most stunning is the Gel. It's a traditional Nigerian head wrap made of stiff or heavy fabric that women wear on special occasions. Typically, the Gel would be worn to represent a woman's marital status. If you wear it to the right, you're married. If you wear it to the left, you're single. They're also a bit of a status symbol. Gels cost money, so the larger your gel, the more money it costs and the wealthier you're perceived to be. In more recent years, the gel has become quite stylish and now forms part of an outfit. Most women will wear their gel paired with a native Yoruba blouse called a buba, a traditional wrapper called an iro, and a cloth draped over their shoulders featuring the same gel fabric called an ipele. If you're gonna see women wearing gel anywhere, it'll most likely be at weddings, festivals, religious gatherings, and burials. Number 14. Berber Tattoos. In many countries, mothers would freak out if their child went and got their face tattooed. But in Morocco, it was the done thing to do. While less common now, Berber facial tattoos formed part of traditional Berber customs and traditions. The tattoos would also tell a story about the various monumental moments in men's and women's lives. Many decades ago in Morocco, tattoo parlors were a bit like beauty salons. You'd visit them as a woman to look beautiful. But that's not to say it was a painless procedure. Anyone with tattoos will know that. Berber tattoos could easily be considered more painful than most. You would pick the tattoo you wanted, and the artist would stitch the skin with a needle before placing black charcoal through the openings and wounds. After about a week, you would remove the wound scab and see the tattoo as the final result. Most symbols used in the tattoos were nature-inspired. Symbols could also have other meanings, like protection from envy, fertility, strength, and healing. Berber tattoos were also common to determine a woman's marital status or if they were ready for marriage. Men also get tattoos, but they tend to be smaller and more discreet. Number 13. Fulani Braids. The Fulani tribe in West Africa, also known as the Fula, Ful, and Fulani people, are among the most populous ethnic groups. The largest population is in Nigeria. This tribe is well known for its women having long hair. Their hair has always been seen as a symbol of beauty and femininity. However, they don't just leave their hair free as it is, they braid it. In fact, the braiding task is seen as a ritual. The hair is usually divided into 5 sections and has many decorations in the braids, like ornaments, valuable coins, stones, and beads. Didi and cornrow braids are the most common styles, and they are generally weaved into patterns with the ends wrapped or dangling from the sides of their heads. In this hairstyle, red beads and jewelry are commonly used to embellish them. However, some women use gold thread. Fulani braids have been part of their culture for hundreds of years, but they haven't stayed in Africa. It's believed that the Fulani tribe has influenced modern hairstyles found in other parts of the world. Number 12. Caro body painting. The Caro tribe is a small tribe with 1,000 to 3,000 people living along the Omo River in South Ethiopia. Not only are they known for being a small tribe of the Nilotic ethnic group, but they are also known for being among the last tribes to have a body paint tradition. Every morning, they wake up and get to work painting their bodies and faces. They use colored ochre, white chalk, yellow mineral rock, ash, animal fat, and water to paint various designs. These designs vary each day. Sometimes they'll paint on simple lines and shapes, while other times they'll paint more elaborate designs, like animals. The most common is one of handprints covering the legs and torso. It's believed that the Caro tribe has been painting their bodies every day for over 500 years for 2 common reasons. The first is beauty. When they paint their bodies in bright colors, they believe it makes them look more attractive. The other is battle. Body paint, they believe, makes them appear more courageous in battle. As scary as they can sometimes look, the Caro tribe is generally considered friendly. They are isolated from modern society, but often welcome foreign people to visit. Number 11. Buttered hairstyles. If we're gonna put anything in our hair to achieve a specific look, we use hair gel, spray, mousse, and other similar products offered by hair product manufacturers. But the Afar tribe from Ethiopia's Afar region, northern Djibouti, and southern Eritrea are different. They don't use gel or spray to maintain their afro hairstyles. Instead, they use butter. They use so much butter, in fact, that it's mostly always visible in their hair. The hairstyles are called astago and data, depending on the type of curls. Astago is an afro hairstyle with ashy-like coloring due to the butter. The curls of the data hairstyle are created with sticks. Using butter in these hairstyles helps them to protect their hair from the sun while keeping the curls looking perfect for as long as possible. Sometimes they also use cow fat. While men commonly use butter as a hair product, girls also use it. And as disturbing as it sounds, the men in a girl's family will often spit on her butter-covered head as a form of blessing. I don't think the trend will take off here, but it's nice to know we have options if we run out of wax or gel. Number 10. Ear stretching. When you see people walking around with stretched lobes, it's easy to assume that it's just a popular trend here. But we certainly weren't the first to stretch our earlobes. This tradition is more commonly associated with the tribes in Africa. In many tribes, ear piercing followed by stretching is seen as the first step toward adulthood. It's also considered beautiful. The Msai people of Kenya used to use sharpened objects like a thorn or a knife point to pierce the ear before wearing heavy jewelry to increase the size of the hole. Both men and women follow the practice, but it's more common in women. The Fulani people of Western Africa also stretch their ears. However, women only tend to stretch their ears to a small diameter to be able to wear large hoops and gold domes. While still common in African tribes today, it's certainly less common than it used to be. In fact, Kenya launched a campaign directed at the Msai people, educating them about the adverse effects of upper cartilage piercings and ear stretching. According to some Kenyan officials, tribalism is hurting Kenya. The more mainstream Kenyans are, the easier it can be for them to fit into conventional society. Number 9. Lebl. Obesity is harmful. We all know that. We're encouraged to eat nutritious food, exercise, and ensure that we don't consume any more calories than necessary. But that's not standard practice everywhere. High body volume is often considered a sign of wealth in several African countries, like Mauritania, Sudan, Tunisia, Nigeria, Kenya, Niger, and Uganda. Some families want to appear wealthy, so they'll partake in a practice called Lebl. This basically means that they will force-feed girls from around 5 years old to 19 years old to increase the chances of marriage. It's a more common practice in rural areas with Tuareg traditions. The Tuareg people are a Berber ethnic group mainly living around the Sahara. Lebl is thought to date back to around the 11th century and has made a comeback in recent years in some locations. It seems to be becoming more popular in Mauritania ever since there was a military coup in 2008, although younger males tend to view the fattening as unfavorable. What happens to some young women is truly quite disturbing. Older women, described as fatteners, will force-feed young girls vast amounts of food and liquids daily. If they refuse the food, pain is inflicted on them. A common method of inflicting pain involves pinching the skin of the limb between two sticks. According to some sources, girls as young as 6 can be forced to drink about 5 gallons of camel's milk and 4.4 pounds of pounded millet mixed with 2 cups of butter every day. Mothers of daughters claims there's no other way to secure a promising future for their children. Number 8. Big bellies. We can be self-conscious about our weight and think it might somehow be a barrier to enjoying life to the fullest. But if you're a larger man in the Bodhi tribe in Africa, you might have all the ladies swooning over you. Women in this tribe are typically more eager to marry men who appear to be the fattest. Every year, a competition is held in the Omo Valley of Ethiopia to determine the most overweight man. The winner of the competition is considered the most handsome in the village. At this point, women start fighting to marry him. Preparing for the competition takes a lot of effort. The men must get to work making themselves as obese as possible. To do this, they start drinking cow blood and milk. They think that the fat accumulates quicker in the stomach area from these ingredients. Men must also live in separate huts 6 months before the competition and aren't allowed to have the old hanky-panky during this time. Number 7. Wabi beauty routine. Anyone can wear makeup, whether they identify as male or female. But it seems as though most makeup products are actually targeted toward women. More women definitely wear makeup than men. However, things work a little differently in the Wabi African tribe. This nomadic tribe from Nigeria, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon consists of men who wear makeup to be judged by women. The more attractive you are, the better your chances of taking a woman home or becoming a husband. The Wabi tribe is often described as the world's vainest tribe. The men often carry mirrors with them wherever they go and will fix their appearance before herding cattle. Once a year, they'll attend the Hairstyles fertility festival. This is also called the wife-stealing festival. Men dress up and do their makeup, perform a series of dances, and are judged by female judges. Many features are considered beautiful in men in this tribe, such as white eyes, white teeth, and height. They'll pile on makeup during the festival to accentuate these features. Sometimes they'll also wear elaborate headdresses to make themselves look taller and shave the hair off their foreheads while braiding the rest with beads. If you're a good dancer, have excellent facial symmetry, are tall and athletic, have a narrow face and an aquiline nose, wide eyes, and white, regular teeth, you're gonna stand out as a beautiful man. Number 6. Teeth sharpening. Body modification is quite popular in African tribes, but you usually think of ear stretching and scarification. Teeth sharpening is less commonly involved. This practice and ritual was particularly popular in Central, Eastern, and Southern Africa during the 18th century. However, it is still practiced amongst some groups today. It tends to be most prevalent in southeast Tanzania and northern Mozambique. Ethnic groups in the Democratic Republic of Congo also practice it. The reasons for shaping teeth in an unnatural way can vary from group to group. Some tribes do it to initiate young boys and girls reaching puberty into adulthood. It was almost like a rite of passage because they were at an age where they could endure pain, and that showed they were ready for adulthood. As we all know, being an adult is painful, so that checks out. But in other tribes, teeth sharpening was just a general custom, and you were expected to have sharpened teeth to belong to a specific tribe. In Sudan, it was often carried out as a form of spiritual protection. If you were seeking spiritual strength or were to become a spiritual leader, you'd be lining up for this body mod. Teeth sharpening was, and still sometimes is, commonly done so men can look like animals, like crocodiles. In some tribes, women sharpened their teeth as a symbol of beauty. Number 5. Lip tattooing. Tattoos are common all around the world, so hearing that African tribes also get tattooed is probably not all that shocking. Still, the facial tattoos that the women of the Fula people in West Africa get are a little bit different than most. Fula women must have their faces tattooed before they are considered an adult. They also can't get married if they don't have a facial tattoo. The tattoos are considered a rite of passage as a girl transitions from childhood to adulthood. It can also be considered a sign of beauty, fertility, and even a sexual lure. When Fulani girls reach puberty, they get the bottom of their lip tattooed as a sign of beauty. The upper part is tattooed once they're married. This shows other people that they're taken. The tattoos on women's mouths and lips are called chudi, and you can be mocked if you don't have one. Having one is a sign of bravery. And to be fair, you would be brave to get one, because the process is quite brutal. A fine, hot needle with natural ink is used. Their mouths are so swollen after the tattooing that they must only be fed liquid for about 3 weeks. Number 4. Bottle top wigs. We produce a lot of trash. Most of it just ends up in landfills and, sadly, the ocean. But an African tribe is doing their best to combat the problem. They turn everyday trash into beautiful hair accessories. Okay, sure, some of it looks a little weird, but their elaborate accessories definitely turn heads. The Dasanak tribe in Ethiopia will collect bottle caps, old broken watches, and feathers and turn them into hair ornaments that have specific meanings for their tribe. Young girls and children have basic wigs made of bottle caps, while the oldest women in the tribe will have the heaviest, largest wigs with the most embellishments. Men can wear bottle top wigs until they get married. After their marriage, they can wear clay headpieces with harlequin patterns and a feather. However, they can only wear a feather once they've had a successful hunt or victory with an enemy. Women tend to wear bottle-top wigs with piles of colorful beads. They also have lip piercings with grass in them. The older the woman is, the more extravagant her headpiece is. Some of the oldest women have old watch straps dangling off theirs. Finding enough bottle tops and beads to make a wig can take several weeks or even months. It can then take several more weeks to actually make the headpieces once the tribespeople have everything they need. As they say, one man's trash is another man's elaborate tribal headpiece. Number 3. Head shaping. When you see people with misshapen heads in Africa, you might assume they have an illness of some kind. But skull deformities in the Democratic Republic of Congo are pretty typical. At least they are within the Mongbutu people. Mongbutu people from the northeast part of the Democratic Republic of Congo practice head elongation from birth. Babies have their heads bound with cloth to create a specific shape. When they become adults, they wrap their hair around woven basket frames to make their heads look even longer. These skull deformities are seen as symbols of beauty and social standing. They are also meant to represent power and prestige. This tradition has been happening since ancient times. The more deformed your skull, the more intelligent you could seem. The process is called lipombo, and it starts around 1 month after a baby is born. It then continues for several years until the preferred head shape is achieved. European colonists outlawed the practice when they invaded in the 1950s, but some Mongbutu tribe members still practice it today. While you might think that misshaping a head like that must be dangerous, some experts say it often isn't. Some say that the brain can adapt and develop into a skull of most shapes. After all, the brain is an elastic organ. Number 2. Shaved heads. Alright, picture a woman in your mind. You imagine her with hair, don't you? Most women around the world have long hair, or at least some hair. But that's not always the case in Africa. Well, it's not always the case anywhere, but many women in Africa shave their hair off, and it's a practice that dates back to Egyptian times. Both men and women in ancient Egypt would shave their heads to stay clean and beat the heat. Women would wear wigs, but go to great lengths to keep their entire bodies free of hair. It's not uncommon to find Egyptian women's tombs containing razors, knives, and tweezers for this task. The Kenyan Msai tribe isn't much different. They shave their heads bald or wear close-cropped hairstyles. Men are the complete opposite. They mostly have quite elaborate hairstyles and will spend hours styling and grooming themselves. Apparently, a man's long hair in this tribe represents masculine beauty, protection, and strength. In many African schools today, girls are required to keep their hair cut short. They believe that hair upkeep is a distraction and a cropped head helps them remain clean. Number 1. Skin bleaching. We should all feel comfortable in our own skin, but many African people would prefer to have lighter skin. The World Health Organization reported in 2011 that 40% of African women bleached their skin. The figures are much higher in Nigeria at 77%, 59% in Togo, and 35% in South Africa. One business owner who sells skin lightening product creams said that whiteness means purity. South African singer Mshoza initially decided to bleach her hyperpigmentation, which is dark patches on the skin. She then liked how it looked and decided to maintain an overall lighter complexion. Now, such bleaching products are catching on, and many people are using several different creams, lotions, potions, and pills to make their skin lighter. However, the World Health Organization warns people that skin bleaching can be dangerous. It can lead to kidney and liver damage, cancer, psychosis, and brain damage in fetuses. In more recent years, skincare companies in African countries like Ghana have been making products to appeal to pregnant women. They advertise that their products might help lighten their baby's skin in utero. So why is it such a trend? Well, some people think that whiteness is a universal standard of progress. Some people just want to be able to access things that white people often have easier access to, like social status and privileges. Rhodes University teacher Shingi Mtero, who teaches a course on the politics of skin bleaching, said light skin can be what men want, and it makes sense in some women's minds to conform to the standards men have to increase their chances of getting married. We've all got our own cultures and traditions, so what's seen as beautiful in one culture can be vastly different in another. In your culture, what do you believe the beauty standards are? We'd also love to hear your thoughts about beauty standards in general in the comments. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.